Alright, family. Hello. Coming to you this morning, being a little quiet because Lindsay's sleeping. But yeah, sitting on my porch in Guatemala looking at a little rainy morning, and so much has come up for me so far. We're just a couple days into the trip, and I wanted to get this to you soon. This first podcast, it is a lecture from the local astrologer Nirguna, who I have worked with in the past. I brought him on to the Light Leader Mastermind. He's just such a cool and unique and dynamic being with a vast amount of knowledge on astrology and a very unique way of delivering it. You will see that. But yeah, he mentions several things that feel important for these times. And if you haven't, really dove into astrology and how structured it is, it's a cool lecture for that. I took about 4.5 pages of notes during it. So I just wanted to get it out to this community, give you something to think about. Nirguna is available for remote readings. I've done 2 with him now, and they are always incredibly eye-opening and affirming, and very highly recommend for anybody on a self-discovery journey. That's all I'm going to say right now. I'm going to record a couple more podcasts while I'm here. A personal one with Lindsay, one with our grid work teacher, Susie. So stay tuned. I love you guys and enjoy this cool ass astrology lecture from Nirguna.
Can you see this little diagram at all? If not, get closer. Right. So the reason we're doing this is normally I do a 2-hour session with people. And the first part of the session is also always introducing you to astrology in a sense, so you can get to be empowered by your own chart. Because astrology's got this, very deep and ancient language, and it's a little hard to get to grips with it, So what we're doing now is to do that first part of that. So when you come for only an hour, we can jump right into, what it is about your chart, So I speak a language of astrology which really goes back to Mesopotamia, back to Egypt, back to Greece, Western tropical astrology. That's the language. There's different astrologies, there's Mayan astrology, which looks at things. Hindu astrology has borrowed a lot from Western tropical, and so on and so forth. So just like there's English and French and German, there's different languages to astrology. But I think all of them start with a question, and this is a question I ask almost everybody, which is, do you know, do you feel, or do you think you're connected to a bigger source? Tell me, put up your hands if you know you are. That's here in your belly. You know it. Put up your hands if you feel it. Connectivity. You must have done your psychedelics at some point. You must have felt your connectivity to source, right? This was always understood in the East, that we're connected to. And this understanding that we're connected to is primary. Because if you don't feel that connection, then you're disconnected. And so in the East, almost everything that comes out of the East is about connectivity. For instance, if you were to look at the Taoist system, the river of life, to be in the Tao, to be in the flow with life. Or you could look at Hindu stories of everything is gods, there are gods everywhere. And out of the East comes many systems of knowledge. For instance, there's a system called the chakras. Here I made a diagram of the chakra system and the planets and the way they'll connect. So what am I saying? I'm saying essentially that in one sense, you can feel your chart. You can embody your chart. That's where I really want to get you into connectivity with. There's many simple ways we could look at that. For instance, the sun. The Egyptians called the sun Ra. Ra. I'm feeling sunnier. I'm warm-hearted. I need more Ra in my life. How do you get more Ra in your life? Well, laughter is a good one. Ha, ha, ha. R energy. So there's an embodiment there, the feeling of your sun. So that's a character, the sun. We've got 4 things we look at when we look at astrology. We're looking at this division of a circle of time into 12. We divided that. That's what a clock is. You may remember, you may have seen somewhere in ancient past a clock. And it's a circle divided into 12. Why do we divide this circle of time into 12? If we go back to Mesopotamia, this is where they divided that circle into 12, into the 12 signs. And there I am back in Mesopotamia, there's a full moon. It's against these stars. And the next time, 28 days later, there's another full moon. It's against different fixed stars, and it feels different. What's going on here? And so we're looking at circles of time. And on this circle of the moon, we can see 5 other visible planets that are available. And at sunset, you could see Venus and Mercury. During the night, you might see Mars and Jupiter and Saturn. And they're all moving around on this circle. And if we feel or know that we're connected, that everything is part of spirit, everything is part of source somehow, clearly what's happening up there is influencing what's happening down here. In fact, in Mesopotamia, for 800 years, they observed the sky. It's the longest scientific experiment ever done by human beings. They observed where everything was and noted if there were famines or what was going on. So that's this great kind of history of observations, first science of things. And they divided the year into 12. The thing is, when you divide into 12, the division of 12 produces geometry. So we have planets, we have signs, we have geometry, the way the planets connect to each other. For instance, if I divide a circle of time into the 4 elements, air, earth, fire, and water, as I go round the chart, air, earth, fire, water, air, earth, fire, water, you'll see that the air to air make a triangle to each other. So you might have something in your chart of a geometry of an aspect called a trine. So 2 planets are connected in a geometric like that. So we have this division. 12 can be divided by 6, 4, 3, and 2. When we divide it by 6, we get the oppositions. I'm a Capricorn, opposite is Cancer. There's always a connection to the opposite sign. So oppositions. 4s give the division of 4 gives us 3 of triangles. Then we have a division of 3. The 3 qualities, you may run into that in yoga. You'll find it in Ayurveda, Kapha, Pitta, or Vata, or Rajas, Tamasic, or Sattvic. So in tropical astrology, in this language, we call it cardinal, fixed, and mutable. The law of 3. When you divide 3 into 12, you get 4 of squares, oppositions, tensions, lines. So the geometry comes from this division of 12. Cardinal is active energy. Fixed energy. Cardinal sperm meets fixed cell makes life mutable. There's the law of three. So the 4 elements times the 3 qualities, 12 types of energy. This division of 12 gives us all of this geometry. Now we're seeing circles of time. And the powers that be want to know, when's that next eclipse coming? Because God knows what that's about, right? So as the observers, we've got to count these circles. And to count a circle, you have to break it. So in this language of Western tropical astrology, we break the year cycle on the spring equinox. That's when the day and night is exactly balanced, and that's easy to measure. And that starts the first sign of the zodiac, which is Aries. So there's a sequence through the signs of the zodiac. There's a movement of energy from initiating energy, Aries, active, yang, fire. Let's do something, let's start something. And it goes through all the other 12 signs to Pisces, the oneness of things. So we can see within the signs qualities and story, and I could go through them a little bit, but Pisces to Aries represents the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one. And in terms of what's going on now, there are huge movements from Pisces to Aries. So we're in a beginning phase of something tremendous. As astrologers, we've seen Neptune, the oneness of things, move now into Aries for the first time in 165 years. And right behind it is Saturn coming in over the next 2 months. And we look back, because we have computers now, we can look at everything. We can't find a time when that has happened like that, where they're meeting on the very first degree of the zodiac. Maybe you could let them out. So we're living in exceptionally powerful times, and these next couple of weeks are probably as intense as it gets. So if you've been feeling uncomfortable, if you've been feeling, challenged by things, everybody is. Nobody's comfortable these days with what's going on. I've been likening it to a snake, like Kundalini energy. I use the snake because it's to do with Kundalini and the embodiment of your energy into your body, into this vehicle that you have. One of the great teachings is Kundalini energy, being able to move energy through your body. And I've likened these last 6 months, and even from COVID on, to a completing of something and the ending of a certain period. And it's like a snake losing her skin. And that's really uncomfortable. And there's a new skin coming in, and that's really sensitive. So probably you all in your own ways have been feeling, something of the enormousness and nature of the times. Okay, big stories going on. And I feel this week, and you have a new moon when you get home on next Sunday, and then there's a full moon in 2 weeks. This to me is really like the Everest moment of this whole kind of energetics. And each one of us can affect how that great energetic is by being something about an attitude of joy, of peace, of finding some inner place, because there is so much conflict going on. But what we would look at as emergencies out there, wars, male stories doing all these terrible things, is also a story of emergence. If you take the Y off emergency, you get emergence. So that's giving a big tapestry for where we are within this language. Then we come down to you. What is your chart? In these circles of time, we freeze we look at that time of birth, 9:19 a.m. somewhere. And this moment in time on the clock is your birth chart. It's a freeze frame of a moment in time of the cycles. And the most critical thing about that moment is, out of the 12 signs of the zodiac, here's the clock. What was the sign that was rising at that moment? This is what we have to calculate, is the rising sign. The rising sign represents how you are embodying things. It's where you took your first breath. It was your first activation of your body. It was your first act of creativity. So the rising sign sets the whole kind of a platform. It's said to be the first house. We have signs, we have planets, we have geometry, and we have houses. Those are the 4 things to get to grips with. For instance, I am Cancer rising with the Sun in Capricorn in the 7th house of relationships, making a trine to my Moon in Taurus. I'm a lot of earth and water. With that statement, an astrology can start to really talk. You need those 3 things: ascendant, sun, and moon. Once you know those 3, then you have something to work with. I'm Cancer rising, Sun in Capricorn, Moon in Taurus. Then we can, and how are they aspecting? How are they sitting, looking at each other? And where are they in the chart? So when you come in, that's what I'm going to be looking at. Here's your rising. But when you come in for the session, you have to bring your questions. Whatever are your questions is where I'll go with your chart. So come with intention. This is really important, because that puts the key into the door for the spirit world to come through and bring in whatever is to be brought in. And they can be very easy questions. It doesn't have to be complicated questions. What's the next step I should take? But it could be almost anything as well to do with. Because the houses, if the first house is, I've got this body, it relates to the other 12 houses, other 11 houses that there are around the chart. So I've got a body, 7th house. Oh, you've got a body. Relationship. And so on. 4th house, home. 2nd house, how do I feed this body? What's my value system that I give to things? 10th house, how am I affecting society? What's my career? What's going on here? So we can look at many, many depths and expansive questions. I've got to change this in my career. What about that relationship, and so on? But come with your questions. Okay. The planets. The planets have rhythms to it. It's a circle of time. So the moon goes around every 28 days. Oh, it's your cycle. So you can relate physically to what is the moon. It's a woman's cycle. And the emotions that go along with that. And I'm the moon. From our view here on Earth, which is where you feel things on the inside, from your view, the scientists tell us, and it's true, that we're going around the sun. But my God, you looks like you experience the sunrise and the sunset. It certainly looks like the sun is going around you. So this interiority of understanding and experience of things is the view that we take in astrology. As outside, so something inside. So that sun is outside, but it also can be found and reflected inside in this raw energy. So if we just look at the planets, they've got different rhythms. Here I've drawn, and you can take a shot of this, so you can take it home and have a look at it. Here I've given the visible planets. These are the old astrology. There's the sun, there's the moon, and there are 5 other visible planets: Mercury, Venus, Mars. They move around pretty quickly. The moon is every month. The sun is every year. Mercury and Venus dance with the sun. I'm Venus, I'm the morning star, and then I go behind the sun and I become the evening star, and then I go back behind the sun. And in 4 years I'll go around the sun, behind the sun 5 times, and I make this beautiful rose petal. I'm Venus. I'm beauty. I'm the embodiment of beauty. I'm Mercury. I can look at the sun. You can't look at the sun. You can't do it. It's really bright intelligence. But I was Hermes in the old astrology. I brought you medicine, astrology. I can communicate this brightness of being. So each one of the planets has a characterization to it and also a rhythm. I'm the sun. I go around every year. These are the 3 planets: Sun, Mercury, and Venus. This energy towards the sun, towards the the Ra. So this energy of the Sun and Mercury and Venus is very much heartful. For instance, devotional path, that path of heartfulness. You know, if you start singing Indian bhajans, you're looking to find more warmth and heart energy. Hara, Hara, Krishna, Krishna. Ma, 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 ma. It starts the sounds of many chants. Ah, There's these sounds. So this journey towards the sun, Venus and Mercury, this heartfulness journey. There's 3 more visible planets in the other direction. And the first one of those is Mars. Mars goes around not in a year, but 2.5 years. So the first time the Mars comes back to itself, you're a little Martian running away from mom. See you later. I'm doing this. Oop, now I'm doing that. This energy of Mars is you separating your actions. I'm going to do this and that. These 5 planets, the sun, the moon reflecting energy, Mercury and Venus and Mars, these are your personal planets because you've experienced lots of circles and cycles of them, mostly the moon, which is your deep emotional body. But then we have 2 more visibles, Jupiter and Saturn. They're more like social understanding and social planets. Jupiter, giant gas planet, and Saturn the same. Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the zodiac. Every year is a new sign. Within a year is a new sign of Jupiter. It sets up a tone for the year. Right now it's in Gemini. It's about to move into Cancer and clean up the mess that Mars has just left for the last 6 months. That's the good news that's coming. So Jupiter, what's the character of Jupiter? Expansion and wisdom and growth, 12-year cycles. Always says to Mars, well, what did you learn from doing this and not that? So this energy of Jupiter is how you grow through your wisdom. And you become a teacher. Jupiter represents teachings and wisdom. And then along comes Saturn. 28-year cycles, your Saturn return. Saturn is the structure. It says to Jupiter, well, how do we organize that? How do we give structure to your wisdom? And Saturn develops things very slowly, 28 years, not 28 days like the moon. So when you're little, Saturn is the culture that you're born into. We've developed and given visibility and culture to some. You're born in America, you know, you're not born in the Amazon. You did potty training, you didn't go pee in the jungle. You know, the culture that you're brought up in sets a lot of tone, and that's Saturnal. So Saturn gets a bad rap. But Saturn is just organization and structure. So how Saturn can be So at 28, you have your Saturn return comes along. And it really asks you to try and become not, in authority is the word of author. You can write your structure, your script of how you want life to be. You're told you're supposed to do this, put your backpack on, go to school, go to church, do all of these things. But Saturn has got different cultures. What's your culture? So you can become friendly with the planets and start to understand what it is that they're giving you in terms of positive effects. So if you keep on, for instance, if you're not, if you're run by all of the stuff that happens when you're young, and that's where the whole of psychology and therapy comes from, all the trauma from the cultures that we brought up in. This is obviously a very Saturnal effect. But you can become friends with Saturn in your chart, and you can start to reapply these things. And the somatics of how this works, these 7 planets, the 7 visible planets give us the days of the week. Sunday, Moon Day, Saturn Day. Freya, Friday is a Norse for Venus. Thor, Jupiter, Thursday. Woden, Wednesday. We've given the days of the week to each of the planets in order. We also, if we look at the chakra system, there are 7 chakras in the body. And this diagram here that I've got will show you that each of the chakras in an alchemical sense is connected to a planet. So the bottom chakra is connected to Saturn. So unless you get to grips with Saturn, you're not going to be able to connect so deeply to your roots. So working with the planets in this way, we start to embody them more. Jupiter comes around every 12 years. So imagine the first 12 years of life are Saturnal. So you've got a lot of trauma that comes out of this. And then along comes Jupiter, and what happens? Puberty. So the growth that you can see in how you as a chart, as a seed, let's look at that example of the chart as a seed pattern. I mentioned that this morning. Nature is just the most amazingly intelligent thing. You take this little seed and you pop it in the ground. Then it has to break open. And then, oh my God, it starts putting down roots and going to the light. What? You're the same. Can you connect your seed? Can you connect to your roots? Are you going towards the light? So these examples of your chart that's your seed. That's what your birth chart is. That's the uniqueness of you. So the visible planets have given us a lot of depth and organization for thousands of years. So that's very powerful to look at the 7 chakras, the 7 planets. Each of the planets actually has a job to do, like taking care of a sign. So there's a great deal of simplicity and sophistication in the old systems of astrology. There's a great elegance in it all. And if I can open up that story for you to find, why am I here? What's my unique growth? Along comes technology, telescopes. In between the American and French revolutions, Herschel's in his backyard in England. Oh my God, I got a new planet. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, goddesses. Look at the telescopes now. We can look all the way through the galaxies. Look how the technology has expanded the field of what is space. And just that first understanding of Uranus. If everything is connected, then we come up with words like synchronicity. The intelligence of the whole has a great synchronicity about it. So what was happening when we discovered Uranus? Revolutions were happening. American and French revolutions were happening. What are they saying? Well, we're not doing Saturn. We're not doing authorities, popes and kings telling us what to do anymore. We're going to do Uranian energy, the rights of the self to be happy, equality, liberty, fraternity, the French. Uranus, new step up in consciousness, not a visible planet. So when I talk to you about Uranus and things, the outer planets, they move much more slowly. Uranus takes 84 years to go through the zodiac once. Every moment is a new moment under Uranian energy. But it's perceptible. How do I perceive Uranus? Aha, flash, inspiration, realizations. I had this flash about something. That's great. Now Saturn it. Give it structure, give it visibility. So we can start, we've expanded our awareness of who we are as human beings by our technology. So Uranus takes 84 years. Now, look at the fantastic thing that technology has brought us. We're likely to live to be in our 80s. You know, in Roman times, you lived to be 35 or 40. You only saw one Saturn cycle. You didn't have chance to explore more deeply, become the architect of your own life. You were born in this or that or that. But so now we've got this great expansion of possibilities through the discovery of the outer planets. So as I said, Uranus is perceptible, you know, but you have to give it visibility. It's your inspirations. I'm going to write this. I got this thing about this song. Then write it. And to write it, you have to take time and schedule. I'm always talking Saturn. That's what Saturn does. So there's 24 hours in the day. What are you doing with it? Becoming friends with these outer planets and by way of even more expanded view, Neptune. Oneness of things. Psychedelics. Ecstatic moments. Again, inspirational in a sense, a realization, a moment of truth. You don't live there in that altitude. They call it a satori if you look at the Zen understanding. You have a flash of, and you see the truth of everything. Or they call it samadhi, you become a Buddha, you reside there. This level of understanding now, as we are moving into a new alignment, is making this deep old understanding of energy of the last 2,500 years or more available to everybody. We know a lot about the chakra system, how to do yoga, how to do Tai Chi, Qigong, Yoga Nidras. These are all incredibly powerful techniques to bring us to what? A sense of let go of trust in nature, which brings me back to the first question. Do you feel? Do you know? Or do you just think that you're connected to Source? So while I'm trying to journey with your chart and looking at your timing and how you're growing, oh, this happened to me and a divorce or that, and we can see on the patterning on the chart, you go, oh my God, it's all kind of connected in that sense. If I can bring you to being alive in this moment, you're at the right place at the right time. You're going to be in a session with me doing something here in this portal, you know, at this time. If I can bring you to the confidence of who you are as a unique one. There's a tremendous energy going on the planet. We've had teachings from Buddha, and different masters. Usually the male ones we know about, the female ones we don't know about so much. So we know the male techniques of sitting and doing these things, but there's a great energizing of the feminine energy, this connection to Mama Earth. Don't these guys realize that everybody got here through a woman? They don't get it still, right? So we're in this place of a kind of emergence of femininity, and that's often Venus in your chart. Or how is that Venus energy in you? Because you can all Earth, I can't. So you're all Venus energies. The Mars in your chart is external to you. It could be the partner or what you do. So we can look in the chart and find somewhere in you where's the possibility of the marriage of your Venus with your Mars. It will be reflected in your relationships and in different things, but somebody else has another chart to look at. That becomes complicated cooking. But I'll look at the Venus and Mars in your chart and see what kind of marriage and relationship you have internally. I'm a Mars energy. I can't give birth. I'll be looking for Venus. You know, you'll see it with somebody who's a chef or an artist looking for the beauty in life, the male energy. In fact, the problem on the planet is, no, my Mars is bigger than your Mars. And I'm going to take over your country, and that's war. And we've been doing that for 2,000 or 3,000 years. It should be over. It's getting very critical in these next few weeks. World war or world peace. If you can hold the energy towards a peaceful place in yourself, you'll be doing a great service to your community, to others around you. I know there's a huge amount of anger and upset and division going on the planet at this time. But I see a great emergence, especially amongst the younger ones and amongst the women going on. So these are some of the areas and arenas that we can look at by looking into this special moment that you have, which is your chart. I like to bring in the tone of the outer planets because they set up the general music. I mean, right now it's ridiculous kind of energetics happening on a global level. So if a hurricane's blowing through, and it is, you know, how can you fly your kite in this hurricane, you know? So it's important to know about the weather conditions. It's what's going on. You know, the one thing you can also always apply your chart to is your internal practice. You have control, you have safety, you have time to schedule to do your inner practice. And that usually brings me back to the ascendant. Because that's where you are embodying your chart. So a good astrologer was once asked, if you had only an hour to talk to people about their chart, how much time would you spend on the ascendant? And he said the whole hour. So you'll find that I will probably keep on pulling you back towards your ascendant and how that gets connected out to the rest of your chart. This Ra energy is really can go much deeper. If you look at the sounds of Ah, U, the Ra brings out the sun energy. The Ooh. This Ooh energy really starts to get us to get to grips with Saturn and things like that, because what's Ooh? Can I breathe that deeply? Deep Ooh. Get down into that deep breath place. So if I say to a kid, chocolate ice cream, Ooh, we can connect to that energy of our child's play back where before the traumas and things that were put on us. So connecting deeper into the bottom chakras, which on the alchemical chakra system is where Saturn is in the bottom chakra and Jupiter. So I spend a lot of attention trying to bring you more in terms with your energy. That's Jupiter. I get that. You know. And then the Tantra practice, an easy one. That's an Om. And that's the circulating of the chi energy. And it looks at your body as an instrument to be tuned. So working with sounds and breath work and things is always going to be part of. But if you have a water rising, then maybe it's more easy, like for me, to hang out in the hot tub. Or if you've got a fire rising, maybe you need to sweat. So we'll look at your body energy in terms of how it relates to the rest of the chart. So the ascendant is really important. We'll look at the 4 elements. If you put air and to fire, it's this little diagram here. People have air, fire, water, and earth. If air is feeding fire and you put an earth bowl and put water in it, you can cook soup. That's a beautiful balance of the 4 elements. Sometimes people are missing an element. This is the beautiful kind of teaching of Zen. Everything is profoundly extraordinary and ordinary. So maybe we'll look at the way you can balance your elements in the chart. So it becomes extraordinarily ordinary for you. This Zen approach to things, I think, is a magical alchemical process. So those are some of the areas and arenas of the chart. I didn't go so deeply into the signs of the zodiac, but let me walk you through the signs. If Aries is active yang fire, each of the signs is a male or a female. Let's initiate something. Aries is ruled by Mars. Let's fight for something. Let's start. Let's initiate. The next sign is Taurus, feminine, fixed, earth. What happens when active yang fire Aries spring comes? Let's poke our fingers in the ground and put some seeds in the ground. And so as we work through the signs, those seeds, by the time you get to Virgo, they've become a harvest, a fruit. The first 6 signs of the zodiac are very much about me coming to a certain fruit. The next sign is Libra, me and you. Oh my God. Let's Scorpio, let's get it on. And out of that comes another one. Oh, a family, a tribe. And by Capricorn, let's have a society. Another earth sign. If we planted that earth seed in Taurus and we got a good harvest in Virgo. What should we build with this good harvest? Let's build some pyramids. Libraries of knowledge. So Capricorn, great understanding of structures and organization and libraries of understanding. And then comes Aquarius. Oh look, Mexican pyramids, how nice. Egyptian ones. I'm Aquarius, I'm just the sky that joins us all together. Humanity. We all laugh, we all cry, we all die. And then Pisces, the oneness of things. We're all connected together. So from Aries we can initiate energy, come to a certain maturity, then we start to play with others. The last 6 signs of the zodiac, I've got a lot of story about we. And right now we balance between Pisces and Aries, an old understanding and a new branding of things. It's tremendously interesting times. It can be seen as to be energizing times, exciting times. You know, because this energy is moving into Aries, active, yang, fire. And yet, I'll tell you what it looks like for the year. The next 2-3 weeks, God knows what happens. We could have World War One or World Peace One. I don't know. But by the summer, things will start to cool out if they didn't blow it all up. And Jupiter's coming very nicely into Cancer to clean up a lot of shit that's been left out there for the last 6 months. And then this energy of Saturn going into Aries with Neptune. Let's rebrand spirituality. Let's do something. Let's start a pilot study for understanding how we connect to Mama Earth. Somebody sent me a song the other day. She was doing a big breathwork course over here in San Marcos. And so because she was doing that, she was getting into her voice and her sounds. And she picked up this song and she sent it to me. And I put it on it. It's called The Song of the Heart. And this person was just singing from the heart. And I was trying to identify the language of what it was. I thought, maybe it's Portuguese. It's kind of like Portuguese. And I went, no, I think it's Chinese. So eventually I looked up this, and I kept on playing this. I do that with the song. I'll play it, 20 times till I go, wow, that's so fantastic. And I looked up this woman. She's Swedish, and she was just speaking in tongues. She was just speaking her heart language. What an amazing, powerful yes to life that was about to see her. God, blue hair, tattoos, gorgeous. This femininization of how we can be empowered in ourselves. So I said this morning, my job is to try and empower you in your chart, to see where you can emerge out into this obvious, source energy that you're all women, for God's sake. Okay. Does anybody want to ask me some things, or how are we doing? I don't have no idea on time.
13 minutes.
Oh, I've talked for 3/4 an hour. One. Okay, does anybody want to? Yeah, sure.
So you were running through each one of the signs.
And yes.
There were some that were skipped.
Yes. I did it deliberately.
Between Scorpio and Capricorn.
What?
So I'm just, like I don't know what order they go in, but I just.
Well, they go in an order.
Well, Hawaii, of course, yes.
Yeah. And actually, the 12 signs of the order of the 12 signs, they also are the order of the 12 houses. So Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, active yang fire. That's almost the same as your first house. I'm initiating this body. So the second house will be more like a Taurus energy. Well, how are you going to feed it? So for instance, Taurus energy is second house. What's my personal value system? How much money do I make? What value do you put on yourself? And so on. Third house, Gemini house. Air, conversation. Hi, twin, do you know what's going on? I haven't a clue. Can we figure this shit out? So the third house is where you have your inner conversations with yourself and try and figure things out. And then the fourth house, Cancer house. Cancer, I'm the crab. I come out of the ocean. I got my home on my back. I'm flow energy and connectivity to everything. I'm flow. So the fourth house will be Cancer-like and about home. The fifth house, Leo. Hey, fix fire. I'm a Leo. How can I just see myself? How can I see anybody else? I'm a Leo. This great question, the source comes to day and says, you're getting a complaint, Day. Night says that you're chasing her. And Day goes, what's night? This is Leo energy. And then Virgo, this harvest time of the year, the fullness, the ripeness, the earth energy, the goddess energy of Virgo. The 6th house is the Virgo house, and the horizon line here below is the earth, above is the sky. So the first 6 houses are very much on the earth. What am I doing here on the earth? Where are my roots? Where's my home? And so on and so forth. And then we move into the 7th house over here, Libra. And then we're moving into me and you. Relationships. And at Scorpio, let's go really deep. Tricky stuff, 8th house. I got a lot in the 8th house. But how we can transform. In the end, you're going to Scorpio. Look, what's Scorpio about? So one sperm finds its way into the cell and produces Sagittarius, a new form. And the rest of those sperm die. So Scorpio, very mysterious. Life and death, water energy, how it's going to work with where's the depth, how deep do we want to go. So this is Scorpio. And then Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, new consciousness and form. Capricorn, let's structure that, Aquarius, Pisces. So those are the 12 archetypal energies, 4 elements, 3 qualities. And they also relate then to the 12 houses. So the ascendant is where the 12 signs click against the 12 houses. They set the whole stage. That then all the planets come on with their characters and their voices and their conversations and connections of things. And these days, when I started to do astrology, I was in India in the 70s, that's how old I am, and I met a Western astrologer, and I said, would you do my chart? And he says, well, you have to calculate it. It took me 6 months to find the books. And then I've had to do all these calculations, and I went back to him with his chart, gave him the chart, said, you'll laugh at death. And then he gave it back to me. So these days, we have things like this, and I can put on here the clock of where everything is, and I can move it around. So I will put your chart in the middle of this, and then we'll run the clock around it so we can see and move things around. And this was happening when that was going on. So we've got amazingly good technology these days to look at. So does that help? Okay. Any other questions you want? Yes.
Would you mind briefly touching on the significance of different degrees? Not each degree, but just when you look and see that different planets are in.
Well, the major ones are beginning degrees and end degrees. But also you can see the numbers sometimes in the chart, like to make a really exact trine, they have to be the same degrees. Right? So the geometry comes into which are the numbers. And also the last degree of a sign is the culmination of things. So we just had Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. And 2 weeks ago it went into Aries. So that was the culmination of the whole zodiac. And then a first degree is in initiating energy. So the degrees have quality about them. Now the important thing to understand this year is this energy has moved into Aries, and Saturn is going to cross over and go into Aries as well. By the 4th of July, June, July, we've got great alignments of outer planets in new signs. You may have heard of Pluto's gone into Aquarius, it's firmly established there. Neptune's about to go into Aries. Uranus is about to go into Gemini. All the outer planets are making moves into new signs. The thing is, that's like a new setup. But Saturn does not go past Neptune until next year. In fact, at the end of the year, both Neptune and Saturn drift back into Pisces. So we get one more deep review at the end of the year of what we can what we know from really deep understanding. So it's like let's do the new thing this year, but it's really a pilot study, and then we get Neptune back in the last degree of. So the degrees have significance, but the last degrees are really significant. Does that help you a little bit? Yes.
Is there a specific site that you like to generate the charts through?
I use a program called Astrology. It's a professional program, and but they have an app. They will not give you any explanations. They will just run charts. But if you get to understand Astrology, you can see, for instance, where the moon is every day. And I think it's very important. You know, often if a moon is very significant, for instance, if the moon is on your ascendant, then you will have a great embodiment of the moon. So it'd be I would often say, look, please note where the moon is as it changes every 2.5 days, because that's going to be very relevant to you, because your moon is very much attached to your physical body and things. And so this kind of tuning in through the moon is helpful if you have an app that can show you where everything is every day. And Astrogold, I think for $15, I think it's on a Mac. It's a good app. Now, in terms of interpretation, I don't know. If you want to know about a university of astrology, then the Astrology podcast by Chris Brennan. Chris Brennan's Astrology podcast. There's 400 lectures on there, free. You want to know about the houses or different house systems. He's very much a humanistic astrologer. What happened is in the 90s, Uranus and Neptune, those two outer planets, met. They don't do it very often. About once every 200 years, because they move so slowly. And they met in Capricorn, which is structure. So great libraries of understanding were coming down in the 90s. And astrologers and people born there's a few of you here born with those great aspects in your chart, and I'll talk a lot to you about it. But this understanding in the 90s, a lot of very good astrologers learned their ancient Greek and went and looked into universities and found how the hell did they do it back then? And there's been this really beautiful foundational rebirth of knowledge from the ancient times, you know. So we kind of lost it a little bit in medieval times. They didn't get that kind of more somatic view that we had from then. What was your question?
In short, what is the best possible way for us to prepare for our readings, and should we look at our birth chart beforehand?
No, don't bother. Just come in and tell me what in your gut you want to know.
I love that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome to. Is there any other things? Yeah.
You had mentioned the first 6 signs were about roots.
No, they're more about in a very archetypal way. They're kind of a development of me. And so from Aries, I'm initiating something. To Virgo, I've come to a certain fullness, a certain fruitfulness. And then remember, you've all got all 12 signs. It's not like you're missing any. You've got them all. But you may have things in certain ones. Like the sun has a certain character, and the sun, I'm raw. Well, I'm dressed up in Capricorn. I'm very dim at that time of the year, and so the signs are like costumes that you put on the planet. So they're all scattered around doing different things. And I ran all your charts today. I did them this morning, and powerful bunch you've got. It's going to be a lot of fun reading your charts. I've got a lot of juice from that. Did I answer your question?
I was wondering what the last 6 signs represent.
We. Right? Let's build a society. Let's build a humanity. Let's build a oneness. Pisces. You're welcome. Yeah.
So I might sound a bit thick on this, but
But-
you just said something. You said we all have like the top 12 characteristics, or
No.
we have signs.
We all have the 12 signs.
Right. So it's not just your first month when you say, "Oh, I'm a such and such." So
That's just your sun sign. And of course, all the planets are moving around, so they're going through different signs. For instance, Saturn is right now in Pisces, and it will move into Aries, and it will be there for 2.5 years. So the planets are constantly moving around your chart, and we can get very sophisticated. We can progress your chart and look at many different levels of technique within the timing. But you all have all 12 signs. It's just some of them have got planets in them, but all of them get activated every month by the moon.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Thank you.
you're welcome. No worries. It's not easy, this language of astrology.
No,
It's not.
It's just science I wish they taught.
Yeah.
We should do. In fact, in kindergarten, we should do Moon Day. Because the moon, if you're in a relationship, the ascendant, oh, you smell good to me. The moon, how do we get on in the day today? I could kill you if you didn't do the washing up. The moon energy. So human resources should know about moon energies. In kindergarten, let's do Moon Day. All the air moons over there, please, and the fire moons. And the water moons. Oh, look, all the water moons are all crying together because they can be sensitive now. And the earth moons. What the hell is going on around here? Don't you know? I know everything. I'm an earth moon. and then knowing what somebody's moon is. I had a yoga teacher. She was having problems in her relationship of 20 years. I said, well, where's his moon? She said, I have no idea. So just these simple understandings, kindergarten understandings of stuff, like your moon. Your sun, everybody gets on with the sun. It's not such a big thing. You can find the heartfulness in an Aquarius. They're getting bitchy about Gemini for some reason. I don't know. And Scorpio always gets a bad rap. What to do? But the moons, that's something else. And then when you put Mars and Venus, you have your Mars and your Venus, and that's your internal relationship. Then you put somebody else's Mars and Venus. Oh my God, we've got 8 different relationships here. Mars to Mars, Venus to Venus. Oh, recipe of relationship, astrological cooking. You can take somebody's chart and you can find a way to work with that. You can be with almost anybody if you...
That's really affirming because forever I've heard like, oh, your sun sign and your husband's sun sign are
No, look at the moons, look at the rising signs, look at the Mars and Venus. And often you'll find that Saturn and Neptune will bring longevity. So me and Prema, we're together 20 odd years. My Jupiter's on her Saturn, right? She hates it. My teacher, she will not stand that kind of authority, but we've learned over the year that she produces situations that I have to learn from, and she can learn from. So, sometimes you'll see Saturn and Jupiter come in and give maturity to things, in relationships. So there's a great cooking course called Relationships. And how 2 charts to go together. And I can throw that too, but I need more time for that stuff. Anything else?
You guys excited for your readings?
Well, thank Lindsay. I mean, this is fantastic. It's like, you know what you initiated, Lindsay? You initiated a school. I was talking to Wendy today. She said, we should do the school here. All the people, the healers, we should do. So this, yeah. It was really great. So thank you. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you
You're welcome. 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 Sky full of stars.